What's up guys, this is your boy Detroit and this is the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. This is Samsung's biggest, baddest, and most expensive phone ever. And here it is. This is it. This thing is absolutely massive. But hold on a second guys, because I think the beat was about to drop. The price? $1,400. How do you even justify that? Well, if you're Samsung, you throw every number and every spec at the consumer and just hope that they look away when they're cashing out at the register. I want to get into the design of this phone first because that's what you'll notice right off the rip. But before we get started, if you guys are new to the channel, please make sure you guys subscribe. And if you guys do end up liking this video, please make sure you guys destroy that like button for me. Now, the design feels like a glass block that surprisingly doesn't feel all that heavy for its size. You get a double camera bump on the back with the speaker at the bottom. Yes, no headphone jack either, which is Samsung's answer for just moving with the times. Now, small disclaimer, I have not had an Android since the iPhone 3G came out a decade ago. So this is a completely unbiased review of this Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. And here it is from someone who's been using an iPhone religiously for the past 10 years. Now, obviously, when you get into a massive phone like this, you get some massive screen real estate to go with it. And I'd be lying to you if I didn't say this is by far the most beautiful screen on a smartphone that I've ever seen in my life. 6.9-inch diagonal display at 1440p and a refresh rate of 120 Hz. A lot of people's desktop monitors don't even have 120 Hz these days. The colors and contrast on this phone are super vibrant and definitely cutting edge. As soon as I picked this phone up, I looked at my iPhone 11 Pro and said, ugh, I just threw it away. Not actually threw it away, but I threw it to the side and just picked this up, and it's been in my hands ever since. One thing I would have loved to see on this phone is definitely more colors to choose from. This thing is an absolute fingerprint magnet, so I definitely recommend a skin or a case for it. Now, when you get into the edges of the phone, they don't hang off the sides, but I have ran into issues sometimes where the screen is registering my hand while I'm holding the phone, which causes an app to move or a page to slide when I don't want it to. Now, the 120 Hz on this phone is absolutely awesome. 90% of the time I feel like you're just scrolling on your phone anyway, and to have something that's as responsive as this just makes the display feel even more special. Now, there is one downside to running this phone in 120 Hz. When you guys are running this phone in 120 Hz, it downscales the display quality from 1440p to 1080p, which isn't the end of the world, but I definitely wish maybe in a future update Samsung could maybe just drop something to where they say, hey, you can use 120 Hz in 1440p, but it'll absolutely destroy your battery. I definitely love to see that, but for now you can only use one or the other. And for me, I'm gonna just keep the 120 Hz because from 1080p to 1440p there isn't really that much of a difference like there is from 1080p to 4K, so it's not gonna bother me as much. But going forward, Samsung, I definitely would love to see that 1440p in 120 Hz if that is possible with some sort of software update in the future. Next up, I want to get into the specs and the battery life, because the 5000 milliamp battery on this phone definitely does not go unnoticed. I've used this phone for more than 2 days without charging it, and when I mean I've used it, I mean I've used it all day long. You get 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage with a 64-bit octa-core processor. The phone is also water resistant, and Samsung is also advertising up to 1 terabyte of expandable storage. In all honesty, the numbers alone with the specs makes it easy for me to justify that $1,400 price tag for this phone. There is literally a billion features on this phone that honestly, unless I'm specifically looking for certain features, I may never even come across them on this phone. As soon as the screen opened up on this phone in my face for the first time, it literally said, bam, come get this smoke. This is what you missed out for the last 10 years. Thanks to the 16 gigabytes of RAM, the apps run super smoothly to go with a smooth refresh rate. You can also pin certain apps to run in the background for quick launching, which is very useful and convenient for those apps you use frequently on a daily basis. Now, obviously, you guys do also get 5G with this phone, which I'm sad to say I don't have currently at this second in my area. But as soon as 5G does become available, I'll make sure I test it for you guys. Now, I have read a lot of articles and a lot of reviews from other people using 5G that it's actually pretty terrible. And obviously with 5G, 5G, you guys need a lot more towers than you guys do with LTE right now with 4G. So that's one thing that's a major problem, and it's going to take, I feel like, a lot longer to incorporate that infrastructure out into the market right now. So it's going to take some time. Probably within the next year we'll start seeing it, but for now, I mean, speed really isn't an issue for me with T-Mobile, and especially when I'm always connected to Wi-Fi here in the studio, or if I'm up in the game room, you know, anywhere like that. It's not really that big of a problem. I wanted to mention that for you guys in case you guys were wondering about the 5G. Next up, we have another major thing to talk about with this phone, and that is the cameras. Yes, I said that correctly. Cameras, 108 megapixels, 8K video, and 100 time zoom, which is imprinted as 100x right on the back of the phone. In the past, I've seen really crazy numbers that never really lived up to their hype, so I was definitely skeptical of those numbers on this Samsung S20 Ultra. The 12 megapixel camera on this phone is super sharp. I felt, what better way to test this than to stack it up next to the iPhone 11 Pro. If you guys know me, you guys know I love the ultra wide camera. One thing that's super special about this camera now is that you guys can use the ultra wide camera together with dark mode. Now, comparing the 12 megapixel camera to the 108 megapixel camera, in most instances felt like it wouldn't be worth it in the long run because of how large those file sizes will be. Another thing I noticed when I am taking those 108 megapixel photos with this phone is the depth of field doesn't seem as natural as it should, and the outer layers of the image I'm focused in on seems grainy and washed out. Not to mention, I did also have a few issues with the autofocus when using the 108 megapixel sensor that I can't say I've had when using any of my recent iPhone models. I don't know, again, probably something that could be fixed with a software update from Samsung, but it's definitely something you guys will notice when you guys start using that 108 megapixel camera. Next up, we have the 100x zoom, which is something that I played around with more than I should have. You won't be using the 100x zoom all the time, but it's definitely something that I love having in my arsenal. Now, obviously, the 100x zoom isn't crystal clear, but the 30x zoom is super sharp and impressive. Definitely useful for wildlife and for scenic photography. In my opinion, you guys would be better off just using the 30x zoom, taking a picture, zooming in on that picture, and cropping it for a much better quality 100x zoom photo. Next up, we have the 8K video, which to me wasn't as impressive as I thought it would be. First up, you have the massive crop in 8K mode, which you notice when changing from the much wider 4K mode. Second, you're locked into 24 frames per second, not a frame higher than that. Third, you get a rolling shutter, which looks pretty bad. And last but not least, you lose that in-body image stabilization you get with the 4K, which is definitely noticeable. Yeah, guys, for me, I'm just gonna have to pass on that 8K video for now and just use 4K for the near future. But to me, honestly, you can't even watch 4K on your phones right now, and it's not even supported through YouTube for your mobile device yet. So, I mean, not really a big deal, but me being the tech geek that I am, I have to try it and I have to let you guys know what I think. But in all honesty, you guys are gonna be just fine with the 1440p on this phone. It's gonna look better than anything you've ever seen on any other phone display out there, and I am absolutely confident you guys are gonna absolutely love it as soon as you guys pick it up. Obviously, you guys don't need something this obscene to carry on with your daily life and your daily tasks, but that doesn't mean that I secretly don't love this phone. One thing that really bothers me and that I forgot to mention is, now this isn't a Samsung issue, but more of an Android issue itself, and that's the compression you get when uploading photos and videos or when you guys are sending them to your friends. I knew this was an issue a couple years ago. I didn't know that this issue was still around, obviously because I haven't been using an Android. I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more and figure out why that actually happens. Now, obviously, guys, you do get that compression when you're using your iPhone as well, but it doesn't seem to be as bad as the Android compression that you get when you guys are uploading to social media. It is a night and day compression that looks absolutely terrible. Aside from the minor glitches here and there, overall, Samsung, I absolutely love this phone. I give it a 9 out of 10, and I am super, super happy that I've had this for the last 2 weeks to be able to test and play with. Now, I am going to definitely keep this phone, and going forward, I'll probably definitely throw a skin on here because you can definitely see the smudges on the back of this phone. Okay, it doesn't look that bad right now, but if you eat some pizza or something, it looks absolutely terrible. So make sure you guys throw a skin or a case on this phone as soon as you guys pick it up. That's going to wrap it up, guys, for the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra review. If you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure you guys destroy that like button for me. Thank you guys for watching, and YouTube, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!